Hey guys, Dave here with Backyard Foundry. It's been a while. Apologize for that. I've been working on my garden channel. That's starting to take off. I think I've gotten some better camera skills, so hopefully my foundry videos will be a lot better now. In this video, I'm going to be making a holder for my daughter's cell phone, and I'm going to do that out of aluminum. She had a tripod that came without the little slot thing that goes in the tripod, so I'm going to make that too. It's going to be a little bit of a fun project. Turn the camera around and show you what I've got so far, and we'll take it from there. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and click the subscribe and make sure the bell is clicked too so you get notified and don't miss anything. Right, here we go. Okay, first of all, let me show you how I cut this foam board to make my pattern. This is a presentation foam board. My daughter used this when she was in middle school for a presentation. So I saved it, and it's real nice because it's got foam in the middle of it, so that foam burns out, and then the cardboard or the paper on the outside turns to carbon, and it makes a nice finish on the final product. But what I'll do is I'll lay out what I need to do. I'm just showing you as an example of how to do it. So you cut through the first paper, but you don't cut through the second paper, and you cut through the foam. Oh, I don't know if you, hopefully you can see that. And then you just break it like that. See, that makes a nice clean cut. Then I just take a glue gun and I fill up that corner so that the metal will fill up around the corner. And then when the pattern's done, I can just take my disc grinder with a sander in it and sand off the corner to make it nice and smooth. So that's what I did. I just did it like that. So that was like for the bottom of where the cell phone would sit. And then I could also go ahead and do it the other way to make the sides. Cut through it there. Cut it like that. See there, it makes a nice little corner. So again, you just put some glue up there. If you want the metal to flow though, you have to take off this paper, like where this would come over. But that's not too hard. You just go beside where you want it to be. Just cut through the paper only, or just pull the paper and then pull the paper off. So you can see that's what I did right there. I pulled the paper off, so that goes over like that, that goes over like that, so the metal will be able to flow. And then you just glue that corner in place, and we're ready to go. All right, I hope you like that. Okay, how's that look for a project all laid out in the grass? So I cut it and I formed it so that my daughter's cell phone would fit inside there. And then I put hot glue on the edges that needed filled in where the presentation foam was folded over. Filled it with hot glue so that'll fill up with metal all around there. These are risers made with the foam too. Then I use some regular styrofoam for the sprue, which is gonna be like up like this, and the sprue will fill down here into the pattern. And over here was the piece that's gonna fit into her tripod. So I'm at the step where I'm gonna go ahead and bury this in the sand. So I got my little flask here. I'm gonna be able to build up above that flask because I made some green sand. Stole some sand out of the sandbox and put some clay in it. So it was pretty wet. It's still pretty wet, but the clay actually dried it out quite a bit. But look at that, I can make like a little roll in my hand, and it holds tight and it breaks clean. So that's what you want to look for. It's still a little bit wet, but it doesn't really matter because this is just to hold that pattern in place. I could do it in loose sand, but I've had problems with loose sand with the metal wanting to stay where it's supposed to stay. I've gotten patterns that were like an inch thick when I tried to do it in loose sand. So I'm gonna go ahead and use green sand. All right, here we go. So what I did is it had grooves on the inside, of course. So I pushed the sand, the green sand, into those grooves pretty hard. So it's gonna hold it there. Now, and then I made a flat sand across the bottom there to put this pattern down on top of. And now I'm gonna fill up around it with the green sand. All right, here we go. Here it is all embedded in the green sand. Sort of looks like a face, doesn't it? Oh, here we go. Let me get out farther. Looks like a face. It's even got some ears on it. But I actually formed a little bit of a pouring basin here, and I'll cut this off because I put masking tape around my sprue. So I'll cut it off when we're ready to pour. And then these are the vents. I'll probably pull that out when I'm ready to pour. For today's project, I'm gonna be using this barbecue, top of a barbecue. Look how thin they cast this. They must have had some high pressure and a really warm, perfect mold for this. But it's really a nice light aluminum, so it should make a great metal for this project. And I'm just using my little furnace with propane today. So I got my crucible, throwing some scraps in there to get started with the melt, and then we'll throw some more in later to fill up that crucible. Here's my pattern. Again, doesn't it look like a Minecraft thing? It's got a little face with ears on it. That's sort of funny. When I'm ready to pour, I'll go ahead and cut through this masking tape, and I got styrofoam sprue there. Sometimes I'll put a little poker down, a hot poker down, to melt the styrofoam away. Just I feel like it gives the metal an easier time, so it doesn't have to push through all the styrofoam before it gets to the actual pattern. And then these are the vents, and this vent was trying to fall off as I was putting the sand around it, so I'm gonna probably just pull up on it and rip that out, maybe rip this one up too. Or I could put a wire down in between there to melt the foam out down the whole way to the pattern so it vents easier. And if I think about it, if I find the wire, I might put some wire vents down to the pattern through both sides here too, so that it will vent. I'm gonna get everything set up and we'll get this melt started. All right, here we go. Okay, well, while we're waiting for the metal to melt, I'll go ahead and show you how I cut the sprue off. And I did put some holes down in here alongside the pattern with a wire so that it will vent. We should probably see some steam coming right out of those holes when we pour. So I wrapped this sprue with masking tape. Just gonna cut through that to get down to the styrofoam. So it just has regular foam in there. And like I said, this one was sort of loose. So I'll see if I can just pull that right up. Might as well see if I can pull this one up too. This one's going to be a little harder though. Yeah, I might not pull that one up because it's glued pretty tight. Alright, a few minutes, the metal will be melted, we'll be ready to go. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and skim off the dross. There was quite a bit of dross. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and let it heat up for just another minute. Then I'm going to turn off the gas and we're going to pull the crucible out. I'm going to put it on those little bricks over there. Then we're going to grab them with my crucible tongs, which are made out of high-tech rebar. And we'll pour this puppy. Okay, so I put my crucible back in the furnace so that it can cool down slowly. So it'd be a little more gentle on it. You probably couldn't see from here, but I have a little ingot mold over there. Let me go ahead and move my camera over so we can take a look at it. It did bubble a bit as I poured, which is pretty normal on a lost foam. There is steam coming out of my holes that I put in there for the venting. But the thing I'm most excited about is that the metal came up in my vent over there, and it also came out a couple of these the vent holes too, so I'm not quite as excited about that. Well, we'll let the pattern cool, let it cool and see how it turned out. Okay, it's been about 45 minutes, so we're ready to shake it out. There's the bottom. So here's how it turned out. The sides didn't really feel too well, but that might be a good thing because she might be able to put her charging cord in there. Okay, so here is the final result. It actually turned into a usable piece, because what I did is I put some hot glue in to fill in some of the holes so they aren't so terrible, and I put some felt on the inside to cushion her cell phone. And the one side that had the big gap in it, we actually cut it up even farther so that it would fit her charging cord on her phone. So turned out to be a project that worked after all. And here's how I fastened the other piece I cast onto the bottom of it. I cut that down so it fits in her tripod, and then I put a hole in here and drilled and tapped into the piece itself. Screwed that on there so it fits right in her tripod. She's happy, so that's what matters. So maybe I'll make a better one at a later time. I think what I could have done is I could have vented more directly to the pattern, and I could have put it deeper in the flask so that it would have had more head pressure to be able to force down there. And also I think my biggest problem was my sand was way too wet. Should have let it dry out a little bit more. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you again real soon.